2016 comes this whole new comic universe, the Double Take universe. The first 10 stories start in the world established by the 1968 cult classic and one of our favorite movies, Night of the Living Dead. And then they kind of let their imaginations run wild. It starts out in that universe, but they're really aiming to make something much bigger out of it. And it's really interesting to see how they do that with the Night of the Living Dead world. There's a lot of stuff in there about the Venus probe that's mentioned in the movie and what kind of effects that's going to have in this world, I think. So as a listener of this podcast, you can actually read all 10 first and second issues for free at doubletakeuniverse.com. And if you like a real physical printed comic better, you can pick up the first and second issue super packs of all 10 titles at your local comic shop, Barnes & Noble stores nationwide, GoHastings.com, or MidtownComics.com for about $20. Or again, you can read all of them digitally at doubletakeuniverse.com. So anyway, I'm really dying not to be able to talk more about this episode, but yeah, I'm in Paris and I'm hanging out vacationing, and I anyway thought that, I think this episode was originally intended to be the Valentine's Day episode. I really do think that they intended for the last two intense episodes to be one, and that for Jesse's death to be the mid-season finale. And then I think they wanted this new episode to start. I think it was written for Valentine's Day. That's my suspicion. And so who better to talk about this Valentine's Day episode than the two lovebirds, Karen and David.
Attention shoppers. Deadcast Top 5 in 5, 4, 3, 2.
All right, so now let's get into it. Our Deadcast Top 5. We have our top 5 highlights for Season 6, Episode 10, The Next World. Overall, David, what did you think?
I really enjoyed this episode quite a bit. I think that sometimes the Walking Dead cast, sometimes the Walking Dead, as opposed to the Walking Dead cast, which is also always lighthearted and entertaining, can tend to bog down a little bit and be a little heavy, much as it is a show that we love. And this episode wasn't like that at all. It was filled with action. There was a lot of humor. One of the funniest episodes ever, I would say, of The Walking Dead.
I would agree.
I would give it 4.82 brains.
That's a very high rating. And actually, I gave it a very similar rating, 4.88 out of 5 brains. So I liked it a lot, too. It was nice to have a little time jump, too. Good to have a breather, although there was some adventure and a nice little cliffhangery ending. So we also got a couple of couples, in fact. We got Rishon, that's Rick and Michonne. We'll talk about that. And we got a couple that I'm calling Therese, which is Tara and Denise. And we got one angsty teenage, probably not a couple, but you never know, Carl and Enid. So a lot of coupling, a lot of romance, a lot of bromance. So let's jump into our top 5. Do you want to go first?
I'd be happy to go first. So
do it, man.
My number 5 from this episode is one specific incident, which is what I'm calling the stealing the keys firecracker caper, perpetrated by our friend Jesus, aka Paul. Took some planning, took some cojones.
Yes.
I actually had to go back and watch the whole thing a few times because I tend to be a skeptical viewer to decide whether I thought it was plausible or not, the whole thing of stealing the keys and the whole business. And my conclusion was yes.
Yeah, I bought it too. And it took me a while to figure out what exactly he had done. I thought, dang, it's really clever. And I'm kind of disappointed that Rick and Daryl didn't pick up on it right away. I mean, Daryl smelled trouble, but Rick was, hey, dude, how many zombies have you killed? How many humans? Why? He was all, starting to launch into his recruitment dialogue.
Yes, he was starting to launch into his whole stupid routine about the 3 questions. Answer me these questions 3. And that actually really cracked me up that Daryl just cut him off at the pass. He was like,
No,
"No way,
dude.
dude. Yeah, not this way."
Right. He smelled it, but apparently Rick's senses have been dulled considerably in the zombie apocalypse. I mean, really, Rick, why would that guy have bumped into you? There's hardly anyone left in the world. They haven't seen anybody for weeks and weeks. And this guy bumps into you?
Yeah, acres of empty space, and then all of a sudden he bumps into him like he's at the newsstand in Grand Central Station.
Right.
And that required a little suspension of disbelief because the gas station was behind them. So where did he come from? He sort of ran straight into the back of him, but it was very cleverly planned out and executed. And it made me wonder if he's just carrying firecrackers around all the time for such an eventuality and one match. But it was really well done and clever, and it led to some good action. So I liked it.
Firecrackers could be handy in the zombie apocalypse. You can light them and throw them and create a little diversion if you're ever in a pinch and you need to get rid of some zombies, because the zombies will be like, "Oh, what's going on over here? I think I'll go check it out." So it could be a nice little escape device.
Yes, and in this case, he found two humans who would fall for the same trap.
Right.
Hey, what's going on over here behind the shed?
Hey, we got tricked. Dude, he stole your keys when he bumped into you.
The other aspect of this whole sequence that was much less plausible was the idea of Jesus being tied up in the road and then 10 seconds later making it onto the top of the truck. But that also led to some good action, so I'm going to accept it.
That was definitely one for the Department of the Suspension of Disbelief.
It was. I was thinking, this guy's amazing. Not only is he this clever, maybe he's a magician. That was very Houdini-esque.
It was very Houdini-esque. I completely agree. And actually, I'll make my number 5 the introduction of a new character, Jesus. And I liked that everything he did also was nonviolent in a way. I mean, he got the van away without holding a gun to their head. So bravo, sir. And he also fought them off in the field with a gun, but he didn't shoot Daryl. He shot the zombie that was about to attack Daryl. So he at first I kept yelling at them, kill Jesus, which is weird because you don't ever find yourself saying those words. But there I was in my head wanting them to kill baby Jesus. And remember, folks, I know comic book people probably have heard of this guy. I've heard of him, but I don't know his role, and I didn't know if he was a good guy or not. I thought he was one of the guys with Negan, but he didn't behave like a guy with Negan. But I've been burned before, so my first thought was to pop him, or at least disarm him, tie him up good, or like Daryl said, string him to a tree or something. But they were much nicer, and so I think that Jesus is going to be part of the community, at least for a little while, and maybe not part of the community, but he's going to be around for a little while. And now he's seen Michonne and Rick in there all together in the bedroom. He's seen more of Michonne and Rick than we have. Michonne and Rick popping up with their gun and their katana, which was an amazing moment. So I also loved the prove how they have ammo moment when Rick and Daryl get rid of the Zed to prove it that they do have ammo. I thought that was fantastic. So that was my number 5. Your number 4?
My number 4 is Orange Crush, and I don't think I've actually had an Orange Crush since I was maybe 11 or 12. It's really a needle in a haystack that you would find an Orange Crush, or maybe in Virginia. They're more prevalent than they are here now, but he gets this assignment, and all of a sudden they find this gas station, and what do you know? There's some Orange Crush in that machine. But I thought really that it was a symbol that even after all they have been through, there's still room in their lives for little things and small pleasures. And even though this particular one engendered some stupidity and almost got them killed, they were making some extra effort to procure one of the little pleasures of life for one of the group. So I like that. By the way, I also read that Norman Reedus actually did cut his hand on the vending machine, reaching in for the Orange Crush, and it kind of looked like he did. So There you have it.
Oh,
Not as bad as Harrison Ford breaking his leg with Star Wars closing the door of the Millennium Falcon on his leg, but a workplace injury nonetheless.
sorry, Norman Reedus. Hope it's all nice and healed by this time. When we saw him at Walker Stalker Con Atlanta, and theoretically this was filmed before then, his hand I don't think was bleeding out. But you know what? That's something to look for now that I think about it. All right. So my number 4 is the road trip. And who doesn't like a nice road trip? So it even came complete with driving music and snack food. So it was kind of great, this little bromance of Rick and Daryl. It was so fun. They have an unlikely friendship, which is really fun. And I think we should make a special category. I'm not really proposing this, but part of me really wants a department of unlikely post-apocalyptic friends. And Michonne and Carl would be one. Eugene and Tara would be another. And maybe Rick and Daryl, or maybe Daryl and anybody. It's kind of nice. I love these unlikely post-apocalyptic friends. So it was really fun to see it. I love watching them go on this road trip and score a truck full of good munchies. And by the way, I'd like to think that this was all thanks to Eugene, because Eugene is the one that told them, hey, go find sorghum, the miracle grain that will save us all, which I also loved. That was one of my favorite parts. And I also am proposing one final division, that is the division of bad Rick decisions. And in the pantheon of stupid Rick ideas, it's got to be where Rick and Daryl are in the field. They realize that the dude's on their roof of the truck. They slam on the brakes. Jesus goes flying over the roof onto the ground, and he starts running away. And I'm thinking, at that point, you've gotten rid of your dude. He's going to be okay. But now you can hightail it back to the camp with the truck. So at this point, go home and get the truck back to Alexandria, full of all the great toothpaste and all the good munchies for everybody back at camp. But nope, they had to go and try to get this guy, and that was that. It was kind of sad. So the truck ends up in the pond.
Well, it's certainly true that if you're gonna start a list of Rick poor leadership decisions, it's gonna be a pretty long list.
That's why I made it a division instead of a department.
Yeah. But I'll stick up for him on this one in one way, which is I kind of felt that they may have been getting pretty close to home by that time, because they'd been driving for quite a while.
Yeah.
And I sort of got the feeling that his thought was, hey, this guy sort of knows where we live, or at least he's gotten back to quite close to where we live. And that may have been why they didn't want to let him flee into the woods with impunity.
Possibly, although this was a barn that they were going after, right? And they were like, hey, let's check out the barn. And maybe this was a barn they hadn't checked out before. And if it was near to their camp, possibly they wouldn't have. They would have seen it already. So it makes me think that maybe it wasn't that close to their camp. I don't know. But yeah, you're probably right. They probably just wanted to make sure that if he was a bad guy and was also a Superman because he was on the roof of the van.
Right. Even if not that close to their camp, they had been driving in the direction of their camp.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's true. By the way, cardio, so important in the zombie apocalypse. We really can't stress that enough, people.
Yep.
That is all. Okay, what's your number 3?
So you touched on something else there that was great in this episode, which is there. If you add up all the characters, there's not that many badasses. And badass is not just capable of shooting someone, but hand-to-hand combat, variety of weapons, good battlers on their feet. And 3 of them definitely are Rick, Michonne, and Daryl. And to see them all sort of either in action together in various ways.
Yeah.
Well, it was good to see the badasses teaming up in a variety of methods.
You want to elaborate on that?
No.
Good. Well, that's a fantastic segue. Is it my turn? I think it is.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, go ahead.
I think we're on my number 3.
All right, do it, man.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Well, my number 3 is Deanna, or I should say Z Anna, making a final appearance. I just think that's a pretty cool way to leave a show on which you are at one point a regular, literally coming back from the dead.
Yeah.
And some characters on the show have had painful deaths, sad deaths, gory deaths, whatever, but she got a very clear scene in which she got to say goodbye, and her son said goodbye to her, and I liked it.
I couldn't agree with you more. In fact, I loved that was my number 3 actually, was Carl and him leading zombie Deanna, or as you say, Ziana, over to Spencer and Michonne because, and we didn't find it out. We didn't know what was up. I was thinking, wow, what is Carl doing with Enid, and why is he so intent on not killing whatever zombie it was? I didn't guess that it was Deanna, and I thought, why is he acting like that? What's going on? And it turns out he wanted to lead Deanna over to Spencer because he knew that Spencer would be looking for her and wanting to put her out of her zombiehood himself. And it was actually really sweet when we finally figured out after Michonne speaks to Carl on the porch, and he says, she should be killed by someone she loves. And it was very nice. And knowing that she's finally at rest is nice. And although I have to say, being the one to do it would probably be a mixed blessing. And I think that if I was out there, I wouldn't necessarily need you to be the one to put me out of my misery, sweetheart. I think you could probably delegate that to somebody else. Hey, could you take care of that thing over there? And that might be all right.
Yeah, I have to say this really is a thing in this show, the sentimentality towards the zombified carcass of what was once your loved one, and everybody seems to feel very sentimental about that. And I don't know if they're a little off base or I am, because, I hope I'm not offending you by saying in the zombie apocalypse, if you get it first, I don't think I'm going to be that sentimental about what is left of you afterwards. but maybe I'm wrong, and I'm just, not a romantic guy. I don't know.
You're no Morgan.
Yeah.
No, that's all right. But I think you're wrong. I think that if you were in this house and I was being a zombie and sort of lurching around outside and sort of scratching at the door, you would have a hard time dispatching me.
I don't know. I have a feeling that if you were a zombie lurching around the outside of our house, you'd probably be doing a little bit of work in the garden, and because you just couldn't help yourself.
Straightening up the garage.
Yeah. Few projects.
That's probably true.
Might be getting them done a little more slowly than before. But.
Do you think I would also be reflecting on the irony of having a zombie podcast and then becoming a zombie?
No, I don't think you'd be capable of that.
Of irony? Or reflection?
No. You would just be mindlessly following the tasks you used to do thoughtfully.
Sweeping. Slowly sweeping the yard.
Yeah. Hey, don't touch that. Zed. She's getting productive work done around the house.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Okay, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is The Time Jump.
Yeah.
Which I absolutely loved. No mourning, no moping, no cleanup. After everything that went before, they just jumped right back into, some good stuff going on. And we didn't have to spend 2 episodes waiting around for the denouement of the great, big conflagration that just happened. I actually read something about this that I'm going to quote because this guy said it way better than I was going to say it. And this is from Tim Surratt of TV.com. Tim says, "The next world was all about those people remaining in Alexandria mourning the deaths of Sam and Ron Anderson from the season 6B premiere. And it is a cathartic journey for viewers as well. Just kidding. Ron and Sam weren't even mentioned once because the show couldn't get away from those 2 dopes fast enough either. Here's hoping the zombie versions of them show up so we can watch them get killed again." I can't believe that.
Wow. It's really funny. No, there wasn't any. It was nice. Things actually are pretty good. we sort of get into it right away with a little music from Boston, which
Yeah.
more than a
Maybe you'd
feeling.
appreciate that.
I loved it, as David knows. I dig that song and aspire someday to be able to do the guitar riff. And and somebody's putting a new hole in their belt, which is kind of scary. It means that he's losing weight, presumably. And all of a sudden, you see a framed photo. There's Carl with his eye patch, so you know, oh, okay, this is considerably down the road. Evidently, they have a camera and a photo printer, although maybe not a great one. It was kind of blurry. Cute photo, though, of Carl and Judith. There's Michonne in a bathrobe, and she's asking for toothpaste. So they have this nice little easy back and forth. And Michonne smiles, and gosh, she's just gorgeous when she smiles. And it's a whole thing. All of a sudden, it's kind of nice. We didn't have to pull all the bodies from Alexandria and sort of, take them to some pit and burn them in a pit. All that got done, and now things are good. And the only bad thing really is that Carl is in his room, endlessly bouncing a tennis ball against a wall because Denise says it's good physical therapy, which probably it is.
It's also a shout out to The Great Escape, Steve McQueen.
Really?
Yes. And where he's sitting in isolated confinement, bouncing the tennis ball. Famous movie scene.
Or The Shining.
Also, I did notice that Rick, yes, clearly some time has gone by. There's a photo, Carl's up and about, but Carl still has a bandage on his head, so not that much time has gone by.
2 months.
He hasn't yet graduated to an eye patch, and Rick got over his honey pretty quickly there.
Oh my God.
He pined after Lori for quite a bit longer.
Oh yeah, he was taking ghost Lori phone calls for a while.
Yeah.
And he was saying to himself, that's weird. There was some woman who, what was her name? Jessie? I don't know.
I don't think he was even saying that.
No, you're right. He was all about scoring some toothpaste, man.
We're moving on.
Yeah, and actually I have to say that was one of mine, which was the relationship of Rick and Michonne. So last week I said that I loved that the real love was there in this group of Rick, Michonne, Carl, and Judith. And I didn't need Rick and Michonne to get all romantic. It was enough for me that they had a genuine friendship and strong bonds. But having said that, it was great. Although a little uncomfortable. They started smooching and I had to look away. I thought, wow, do we give them privacy? What's going on? But, good for Rick and Michonne getting a little romantic love in the zombie apocalypse. You get comfort where you can, I suppose. And I also love the idea of a little Rick and Michonne baby, which would be the cutest little badass ever.
Wow, are you getting ahead of yourself?
I sure am. I just rode this horse as far as I could. And yeah, I agree with you. It doesn't exactly work with the Jessie storyline. At least for us, it was a little jarring. But Denai Greer said on The Talking Dead that there's been about 2 months since the last time. Although, would Carl's eye bandage still need to be changed after 2 months? I guess it would.
Well, not having ever poked out an eye, I'm not quite sure. I heeded all those warnings you get as a kid that said, "Don't do that. You can poke out an eye."
And you're like, "All right, not going to do that." Yeah. I think that was wise. So, did you already say your number one?
No, I did not.
Say your number one.
My number one is the character of Jesus. That sounded very weighty.
Yes.
No, this is Jesus, a.k.a. Paul. This is a character this show really needs badly, I think. And this is a show I love, but I think all of its weaknesses are when it gets, and I said this at the beginning, which was what was so great about the time jump. This show can get bogged down sometimes, bogged down in one place or in heavy emotions or wallowing in sorrow or those sorts of things. Jesus, this is a character that he has life, he has humor, he has energy. I think the best way to put it is it's a spark. Hand-to-hand combat, he didn't even need a stick.
Yeah.
You know, he had the caper, he had the running away scene. He's good looking, he's funny.
Yeah.
He's British, another British actor.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, Tom
Oh,
Paine.
dear.
But I think he's really gonna enliven the whole situation, and I'm glad he's in the mix.
Yeah. I have to agree with you. Although I don't completely trust him yet. I do
Well,
like
that's
him.
part of the fun.
Yeah, that is kind of part of the fun. I agree. It's going to be really interesting to see this character and what happens next. One thing, though, he certainly needs to learn how to knock. Can you knock, dude? Just knock. All right. So I already told you my number one, and I'm going to go straight to some notes. Tara and Heath, Denise said that they're going to go on a 2-week run. What was that about? Denise mentioned that to Daryl, and I was thinking,
Yeah, I don't
Tara
know.
and Heath, 2-week run. What is going on there? So it might be because the actress who plays Tara, I think, or was at the time pregnant. And so maybe they just needed a way to write out her last little bit of pregnancy and not show her on the show for the very, very end. I think that might be it. But anyway, Carl, when he was in the woods, he was reading a comic book. Did you notice that?
I did notice that.
And did you know which one it was?
No, I did not.
It's called Invincible, and it's written by Robert Kirkman. A little shout out.
Yes, he likes to do a shout out to his own work now and again. Yeah, I think if, and that had a double meaning, because if that comic book had survived years into Zombieland, it in itself was invincible.
And Carl, who at this point has been shot several times, that kid is fairly invincible.
Yeah, he had, at this latest injury, he didn't even blink an eye.
Ba-dum-bunch. Can you tell me what is the story with the zombies by the front gate of Alexandria?
I got the impression they were impaled on stakes.
Yes. Or somehow, why isn't somebody giving them the heave ho? It seemed funny at this point. I was looking at them thinking, why not kill them?
Yeah, they almost were just there to remind us that this is a show about zombies. And the ever-present zombie threat is outside. But all the extras are working on some other project this week. I was going to ask you a question. How did you get through an episode without your beloved Glenn?
It was not easy, my friend. Fortunately, I loved this episode, and I had other beloved characters, especially Michonne. She was wonderful in this. Hey, did you see the Alexandria Free Zone, I think it is, that was on the sign outside the gates? It says, "Mercy for the lost, vengeance for the plunderers." How's that for a mission statement?
Nobody has a sign like Terminus. Everything else is less poetic than those who arrive survive, which became those who arrive stir-fried.
Vengeance for the plunderers. I like that.
Not the same.
I watched The Talking Dead afterwards, and in the in memoriam section, they showed a terrific zombie. By the way, they called it the Swiss cheese neck zombie, and it was getting katanaed by Michonne. This is when Spencer was nearby.
Yeah,
and
that was cool.
Yeah, you could see straight through its neck, which was great. Well done, Greg Nicotero. Also, it was kind of funny. Yvette Nicole Brown, who I love, she's an actress and a comedian who's been on the show a lot. She said to Denai Greer, "I thought you handled that kiss very well." And she said it in a great way. It was very sweet. So, okay, are we ready to move on, or do you have any notes?
And also on the Talking Dead, the great Nathan Fillion.
Yes, exactly.
They mentioned whatever show he's on now, but to me, he'll always be Captain Malcolm Reynolds.
They mentioned that really quickly. They mentioned, well, he's on Castle, but they mentioned Captain Hammer versus Captain Reynolds and who would win in a fine lover. And usually I stick with what I know. There's things that are tried and true that I go to again and again, or I just take a wild ass guess at our local grocery store. And, well, with Club W, the guessing game is over. Club W is the world's only personalized wine club, and your wines are sent directly to your door. Not only does Club W send you wine, they send you wine that you'll love drinking. And that's because Club W's easy 6-question quiz figures out your palate so that every bottle you receive is perfectly tailored for your tastes. And listeners, trust me, this quiz is really great. And boy, it figured out my taste exactly. It figured it out to a T. Almost too good, because my husband has a taste that runs more towards those wines that are more tannic. So with more tannins in them, stronger, bolder wines, big, bold cabs, for instance.
Hey, it fits my personality. What can I say?
That's exactly right. So we're going to try to order some more wines that are more for David's taste. So maybe we'll make David take the quiz next. Anyway, Club W is leading the grape to glass wine revolution. They work directly with vineyards to cut out the middleman, which saves you money. And they have an amazing assortment of wines that are really, really inexpensive and are priced exactly at the point that I love. And Club W even offers a no-risk guarantee that you'll love what they send you or your money back. So just this weekend, I received our second shipment of 5 bottles, 3 new ones, and 2 ones from the last shipment that I loved. That was the first time I got those bottles. And we tried them out this weekend. We tried them out twice. On Saturday night, we went to a dinner party, and we brought with us one of the Italian wines. I think it was called A Beautiful Waste of Time. And I think it's fair to say that everyone at the table really, really loved that wine. And it went great with the Italian food that we had. And I was really happy that we brought it. The next day, we invited my brother over, Steve. He's a chef, and he's got a great wine palate, and he's tough on wine. And we sat in the backyard in the sunshine, and we busted out a bottle of the Tempranillo, I think it was.
Copycat Tempranillo. Yeah.
Copycat Tempranillo. And it was fabulous. Steve said, he's like, no, I would buy this wine. I would absolutely buy this wine. He liked it. So he's an exacting guy. So I think that we can say that so far the Club W has been a wonderful experience for us. And right now, Club W is offering you guys 50% off your first order when you go to clubw.com/deadcast. Wine should be fun, not pretentious. Start learning as you drink at clubw.com/deadcast. You'll even get 50% off your first order. That's clubw.com/deadcast. All right, now let's go to news about The Walking Dead. Beep, 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 beep. See, that's a little news thing.
So, moving on to the first
Jason will cut those out. Okay.
Obvious threat to untold numbers of citizens.
The people it kills get up and kill.
Are they slow-moving, Chief?
Yeah, they're dead. They're all messed up.
This is a Walking Deadcast news update.
Our first item is on Sunday evening, February 14th, Valentine's Day. In Great Falls, Montana, a 911 call came in from a neighbor who had heard screaming from a house about someone having a gun. A second caller helped the 7 responding officers locate the house on 600 block of 8th Street North. The officers heard loud talking from inside the home, observed flashing lights, and observed 2 adults and several children, ages unknown, watching the mid-season premiere of The Walking Dead with the windows open and the TV turned up loud. That is a true story.
And 2 of them had just shot each other. No, I'm kidding. They were just watching the show.
We didn't make this up. This was a news story. I saw this too. I think this is so funny. I often wonder what my neighbors think when I'm yelling, "Kill him! Kill him!" But our neighbors have grown to accept us.
And it says February 14th. I was kind of hoping that it had been last night's episode. And then what they had actually heard wouldn't even have been gunshots in the TV show. They would have been firecrackers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But no, it was gunshots.
I'm sure somebody was called somewhere for something.
For the firecrackers.
Right.
From an interview with Robert Kirkman in The Hollywood Reporter after last week's episode. The question was, this was a huge episode. 3 major deaths, plus Carl losing his eye. A lot of big moments from the comics. Where does the show go after this? Kirkman's answer. Everyone on this show is aware this is the 6th season. A lot of shows in their 6th season are either completely winding down, or they're struggling to find some kind of narrative transition to make the show about something else that can keep going. Everyone involved is aware of the fact that these are dangerous waters and times when people can completely lose interest in a show. Or we are working harder than we've ever worked, pulling out all the stops, rolling up our sleeves to make this as exciting and as explosive as we possibly can. Comic readers know this is a huge time period. Lots of big moments from the book that are getting adapted in the No Way Out storyline, in the mid-season finale, mid-season premiere, big pivotal moments in the series, and there's a lot more to come. We're putting it all out on the table for this season. We know there's a lot more to come if we pull this off.
Huh. So he's saying that season 6 is a transitional period. That kind of makes sense. I think a lot of shows have ended around the 6th or 7th season. I'm thinking Breaking Bad. I'm thinking Mad Men. I'm thinking a lot of shows that got to that point and decided, you know what, we've run this storyline out. So I could see where they're trying to make this leap and keep everybody's interest.
Yeah, and season counts are a little weird now, the way they split seasons.
Yes.
So for Breaking Bad, for example, you could say it's 6 seasons. They called it 5 seasons with 2 halves, the way Walking Dead does. But yeah, I think he makes a good point. The one difference I would point to is that it is an ongoing narrative with a comic book that fans feel is still compelling. So you have that source material still to draw from, and they're still drawing, I think, pretty closely from it, or at least the major points from it, which is a little different than a TV show that's just being written as a television show, where
Right.
you have to keep creating it in that form and make it up from scratch. So, they still have some good material to pull from and have that backbone, so that might be able to help them keep going longer than another show might.
Right, exactly. That's a very good point. Okay, this next item is for you comic lovers out there everywhere. Image Plus is a new monthly magazine featuring images, upcoming releases, as well as bonus creator-owned comics content. That is hard to say. Each of the first 12 issues of Image Plus will feature an original 4-page Walking Dead story concerning Negan's origins for a total of 48 pages of backstory. And this is the first time Negan's backstory will be told. Each issue of Image Plus will be distributed with Diamond's Previews catalog, with the first issue available in May. So watch out, comic lovers. It's coming.
Interesting.
Yeah.
This is a form that we're seeing all over the place, including in, for those of you who are X-Files fans, they're giving you like 15 seconds of Gotham in every X-Files episode.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, little comic presentation on TV. But that sounds
great.
awesome, the Negan backstory. That's really special. Interview with Chandler Riggs from Forbes.com. Did you have an idea that Carl would get shot, or did you just read it in the script? And Chandler says, luckily Scott Gimple told me a while back. I was so excited. I knew it would be a turning point for my character, and it would be a lot of fun. I was kind of hoping he would say, I never saw it coming. I imagine it's only a change for Carl, your character, but a thing for you as an actor to get used to. And Chandler Riggs says, working with one eye isn't easy, but it's helped me improve as an actor. You lose your depth perspective completely. When I'm shooting, I've had to alter my aim. I would normally close my left eye and use my right eye to aim. You don't realize how much vision you lose. You lose about 70 degrees of vision. It's tough.
You know what? You wouldn't think that it would actually matter because they're not actually firing the gun. Just saying.
But that's acting. I guess you have to make it plausible.
Right.
What kind of changes will we see in Carl because of this? And answer is, toward the end of the season, I think you'll see a Carl who's less merciful, less inclined to help people out.
Ooh, he got really burned by Ron. Ron shot him intentionally.
Yeah.
And I could see where he'd be pissed.
Yeah, and you could see it coming out already. He wasn't very nice to Enid. Not very sympathetic. Okay, you don't want to be here. Goodbye.
Yeah, sad.
So I like it. It means he's growing up and a much more interesting character, I think, than just he was as a little kid.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, that's it for the news. So now I want to talk about Fracture. What is Fracture? Fracture is images printed in vivid color directly on glass. And we have 3 Fractures at our home. And I love them. I think one of them is of the San Francisco Bay. It's a picture I took. Another is a picture of grape leaves that we took in Israel. And I can't remember what the third one is, but they're so cool. Fractures are great. And they're the picture and the frame all in one. They're very, very simple. They've got a beautiful look and feel. And it's great to get the pictures that are hanging on your phone actually printed and made into artwork that you can proudly hang on your wall. I'd also like to mention that Mother's Day is coming up. Mother's Day is May 8th. And Father's Day, which is June 19th. So if you're wondering, what am I going to get my parents for Mother's Day, Father's Day? Hey, great present would be pictures that you have taken, personalized, beautiful pictures for them to hang on their wall. It's pretty great. So if you go to fractureme.com and you use the code ZHEAD, that's ZEDHEAD, at the checkout, you will get 10% off. And let us know what fractures you end up doing. We'd love to see them. And again, go to fractureme.com and use ZHEAD at the checkout to get 10% off.
Some of the great zombie artwork we've seen would look great on a fracture.
Too true, my friend. Too true. Now let's go to listener moans, groans, and grunts. Brains. You like that? It's a
You're just going to do all the sound effects live tonight?
Yeah, exactly. That's a handy placeholder for Jason.
Brains.
Jose Estrada writes, I actually had fun. LOL, that's a new twist for The Walking Dead. This episode had heart, with the side story of Deanna, Rick and Daryl finding where they stand as far as bringing in new people. All it was missing was the Benny Hill soundtrack when they were chasing Jesus in the field. I don't want to see this type of episode too often, but I really enjoy it. Well, guess what? You can see the chase scene with Benny Hill music on YouTube. And we're going to post the link for that.
Yeah, it's terrific. The actual Benny Hill song, it's called Yakety Sax, and it works perfectly. I watched it. I've already watched it 3 times, and it's so unbelievably funny. And I really recommend going to YouTube and looking that up. It's hilarious. This next response comes from Paula Hopper, who writes, LOL, I guess laws of average were still in Rick's favor by the end of the day.
Yeah, I would have to say yes. Magic 8 Ball says chances are good. From Emily Van Sant, this episode felt so campy and poorly written, in my opinion, didn't fit into the world this show has created. The characters were making illogical and silly mistakes, the lines were cheesy, and even the filming and lighting seemed cheap and strange. The scene in the field chasing Jesus was so ridiculous, and why are they repeatedly keeping the keys in the truck for Jesus to steal it? Was one of the worst episodes of the show yet. So, we don't really agree with Emily about that, as you could tell from what we had to say. We really enjoyed it, but it's definitely a fair opinion. I would say the show was out of character, and it was out of the usual mood that they've established. I will stick up for them on one tiny point, which is that in the first instance of the stolen truck, the keys were not in the truck.
No, they were on Rick's belt, which Jesus stole by bumping into him out of nowhere, seemingly from out of nowhere.
Right. Not that makes Rick a whole lot smarter than leaving the keys in the truck. He'd probably been better off.
He could have said,
truck.
Why the hell did you bump into me?
Yeah.
Dude. This next one comes from Sarah Oakes, who writes, I loved the happy feeling of this episode. I can't remember ever laughing this much while watching The Walking Dead. What the fuck? Rick and Michonne. Well,
Michonne.
Michonne.
Dan Letts says, what do you mean? What the fuck? This has been obviously in the cards for months. In real life, everybody would be boning each other like it was their last week on Earth, which it may
might
well be.
But Sarah Oakes replies, part of me was hoping they wouldn't take it there because they had this deep friendship. And I feel like when you add the romantic element, that friendship is completely replaced. Also, I don't want the show to turn into a teen drama with everyone just hooking up all the time. You know what? I have to say, when you are in a relationship, oftentimes it's not like you replace the friendship. It's more like you add another level to the friendship. So maybe...
I don't know about that. I think they're... Oh, yeah,
What?
You're right, honey.
Nice save. That was elegant.
Stick save and a beauty. Michael Koska responds, it didn't feel like a hookup to me. It happened organically over a long period of time. The best relationships start out as friendship, and they never lose that foundation at the core. They are perfect for each other given their set of circumstances. I loved it. His pistol, her katana. Sorry, that wasn't him. That was me.
Sarah Oak says, it felt kind of like when two of your friends start dating. It's going to take some time to adjust. Yeah, I hear you, Sarah.
And Megan Kleinman said, it's an awesome episode to follow such an intense episode. It was the first time I went to bed with a smile on my face after watching TWD.
Lindsay Mock says, amazing. I was screaming so loud during the Rick and Michonne hookup that my newly awoken husband thought there was an intruder in the house. Nope, just a couple people out getting it on. All right.
Emails.
Let's go to emails.
Forrest in Pennsylvania. This episode was extraordinary because nothing bad happened. He's right on. No one died, not counting Deanna because she is already dead. Lots of character development moments for everyone who appeared in the episode. The drawn-out ballet of petty violence between Rick, Daryl, and Jesus was comedy gold. Equally amusing was the subplot to recover Orange Crush soda for the Doctor's crush, where we get to see the cans of soda consumed throughout the episode until the last one breaks and soaks Daryl's backpack. Again, comedy gold. It's gold, Jerry, gold. Then we get to watch new love bloom between Rick and Michonne. I'm kind of agnostic about it myself. I can see where the groundwork was laid for this, why the writers would do it, but I am reserving judgment to see how it develops. Overall, this episode is one of the funniest, most upbeat episodes of the entire series. The law of averages says that we will pay for this in the long run. The Negan clock is ticking. My wife Megan in PA hates it when I say that. We are in this, maybe it's his wife Megan. We're in this season's 7th inning stretch, but it will soon be game on.
That's great. Thank you for writing. This one comes from a certain someone named Jason, who says, I love this episode. Great to have.
So wait a minute. He gets to weigh in from England?
Yeah, of course he does.
He's got a long reach.
It's his podcast. He says, I love this episode. Great to have a lighthearted episode after how intense it's been lately. Rick and Daryl road movie. 4.5 gax. I like Spencer needing to deal with his zombie mom, as sad as it was. I'm all for Rick and Michonne as a couple, though I actually think it would have been nice to just end with them holding hands. Was I the only one who thought that makeout scene was awkward? No, Jason, I thought it was awkward too. I love that even a feel-good episode of The Walking Dead, Rick and Daryl don't get to keep the truckload of goods. Yeah, that's an excellent point. So even this quote-unquote feel-good episode, they still come away with pretty much nothing. Rick, it's pretty stupid of us to go out there, isn't it? Daryl, yep. Go again tomorrow? Rick, yep. Walker Stalker London has been great. I'll tell you more about it next week. Wish you were here. Looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say about this episode. Oh, do you think he means that he wishes that every single one of the listeners were there and crammed into his hotel room?
I do think so.
Awesome.
Yep. He
All right.
loves, Jason loves having the audience
partay?
around. Yeah.
All right, folks, let's go on to calls. This first call comes from Chris from Brooklyn.
Hey, Jason and Karen. This is my first time calling in. My name's Chris, and I'm from Brooklyn, and I guess I have a few thoughts about last night's episode. I thought it was interesting how Rick noticed how clean Jesus was when Daryl still looks like he hasn't showered since they left the prison. Can we please? They're in a nice place. They're in a nice town with water and, like, I don't know. Just he's looking so gross. I know you have to suspend disbelief in a world in which there are zombies, but running after the truck and actually catching up with the truck was a little hard for me to get around, as was the whole thing with Deanna still being in one piece. like she didn't get torn up, and she somehow got out of the town when they were killing every single walker that was, like, surging through the town. But I guess, you know, I have found that, like, to enjoy this show, which I love, and I love all things zombie, and I love the comic, I think you have to just, well, you know, like the actors and the producers, every time you see them talking about the show, they talk about it as if it's this great, you know, extremely intellectual, deeply meaningful drama with big themes about, you know, everything about life and, you know, and I think that you just have to, like, set that aside and know that and just look at it as this is a zombie thing with, like, a big budget and good actors, but it's still just a zombie thing. And so, in spite of my nitpicking, this episode really worked for me because the comic, God, I'm all over the place. I'm sorry. So the comic, which is not I'm not going to say anything spoilery, just the comic, you know, does spend kind of more time on, like, what their day-to-day life is like. And I find that stuff interesting. And it was nice to have a little taste of that. And I realized that would probably be kind of boring if that was more of what the show focused on, but it's nice to see once in a while. Okay, so I'm going to quit blathering now, and I don't know if this is going to make it on, but I really love the podcast, and I'll make a zombie sound. Excuse me.
So I thought first of all, great zombie sound with
Yes.
the cough at the end, and then it turned out it was just a cough. I was kind of disappointed by that. She should have gone with it.
Zombies probably cough.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, great zombie sound, and also excellent point about just a zombie show. It doesn't have to work on a million different levels. It can have all kinds of crazy things, including things like, why wasn't Deanna, from the Department of Suspension of Disbelief, why wasn't Deanna chopped up into many, many pieces? That's a great question. I wondered that myself. I'm like, what was Deanna even doing in the woods? I thought that during all of the hullabaloo, she was inside that house, and she is somehow successfully, the zombie Deanna escaped out into the woods. Kind of crazy. And then also that they ran to catch up to the truck, Daryl and Rick, and they caught the truck, and the truck conveniently had a flat tire. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of ways you could pick this episode apart. And ultimately, you have to say, hey, it's just a zombie show. Just a fun little zombie show.
The problem is nerds like me who say, yeah, how did Jesus vault onto the roof of the truck and blah, blah, blah. But we totally accept that the dead are rising from the grave and
right.
stalking everybody. That's no problem.
Right,
So,
exactly.
yeah, I think we all sometimes need to just get over it a little bit.
Yeah. Right. All right. This next call is from Kate from Seattle.
Hey guys, this is Kate from Seattle. Just watched the show Irma Gerd. Wow. So I like this new Jesus guy, and I just think the lightheartedness of the show this week really worked. Not every week has to be like, oh my gosh, we have to be almost near death again. There were several times during this episode that I actually laughed, so that's cool. And then the end, didn't see that coming. So, yeah. Just like to end this call with a bow, chicka, bow, 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 chicka, rah. Thanks, guys. Bye.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
That's my new favorite song. Chicka bow wow with the zombie sound at the end.
And not every episode has to be lighthearted fare, but it sure was fun having a good palate cleanser like this one this week.
Agreed.
Yep. Thanks for calling, Kate from Seattle.
Okay, last call.
All right, last call.
Hi, this is Heidi, and I just want to say that I absolutely loved tonight's show. I was really shocked at the end, and I was blushing and looking at the TV and thinking, oh my, because one, I heard a little Barry White action going on in the background. And to see them kiss and touch, and it was really wonderful. I loved it. I really loved it. I was shocked. I didn't think they'd go that direction, but it looked so innocent and sweet and loving, and it's about time they got the big O. That's all I've got to say. At one point I was thinking, oh, that's not me on the couch with Rick. That is Michonne. Anyway, love your show. And here is my voice for a zombie.
Wow, that was...
I mean, sign her up for a zombie sound. That's better than most of the sound effects we've heard.
That was the best zombie sound. Oh, I think Heidi from Palm Springs wins the prize. And I also love the Barry White reference. There should have been... Somebody needs to make that video as well. A little Barry White.
Yeah, funny how she was saying, and you said the same thing. You felt a little embarrassed.
I did.
Peeking in on them. It really was an intimate moment.
I kind of looked away. I was like, oh, but it's Rick and Michonne. I feel like I'm violating their privacy. It was strangely intimate.
Yeah. Worlds were colliding a little bit.
They kind of were. Yeah, exactly. All right. That's it for the calls. Let's go to Comic Talk with Mr. Blog and Gracie Lou. Take it away, Mr. Blog and Gracie Lou.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another little episode here of Comic Talk on the Walking Dead cast. Grace, how you doing this week?
I'm doing just great. How are you?
I am fantastic. And I got to say, I really did enjoy this episode.
I liked it a lot more than I thought I would, actually.
Well, exactly. And I was kind of surprised because there are a few things that I may take some issue with here in just a moment. But at the same time, I can honestly say I really did enjoy the episode. I thought I enjoyed the pacing of it and the way it went. And, of course, those wonderful little moments that seem to be ripped straight out of the comic book, yet really tweaked in some cases. So we did get a couple of letters in regards to some of these things. So, Grace, why don't you go ahead and read the first one, bridging us into what we're going to talk about first.
Okay, this one is from Jamie Dimmick. Mr. B, you are as upset as I am about this hookup, right? I love their friendship in the comic. This changes things very dramatically. Grrr, I don't like it. And what about Ezekiel? I feel so bad for him, and he doesn't even exist in the show yet. Grrr, have I mentioned that I don't like this? I did love Jesus, though, Jamie.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jamie. Appreciate that. Well, here, I want to hear your... I've actually been curious, Grace. How do you feel about this whole thing?
You know what? And I have been saying all along, I wanted him to hook up with Sasha. I was was really pushing for her. I didn't want the Rick Michonne thing.
Me neither.
Just exactly for the same reason that Jamie's saying, that they have such a great friendship in the comic, and I didn't want that to be messed with. But you know what? It was so adorable and sweet that I really liked it. It didn't bother me. Now, oddly, I'm kind of embarrassed to say that until I read Jamie's email, I didn't even think about Ezekiel.
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
Now I'm kind of thinking they won't have him at all, maybe. And in a way, I sort of hope they don't, because my feelings on Shiva in the kingdom.
Yeah, no, I'm aware of your feelings on Shiva. Okay, so we're pretty much in line here. My first reaction was, oh crap, they're doing this because I did not want them to hook up, because as we've talked about in the past, as Jamie brought up, we did get another letter, Gijo, thank you very much for your letter as well, that basically was expressing the same qualms about this. Honestly, it doesn't bother me, because then when I thought about it, I'm like, wait, yeah, I love their friendship in the comic. It is an amazing thing. But, sometimes the people with the best and strongest relationships are those people who are really great friends. And with the absence of Andrea, well, this makes sense. And Michonne in the TV show has never... she didn't hook up with Tyrese in the way she does in the comic book. She doesn't hook up with Morgan in the way that she does in the comic book. So her character...
She's always been close with Carl, so it is kind of like a little family.
Exactly. And the transition between Carl being able to call Michonne mom, for instance, that transition seems a lot easier to make than him ever considering Sasha anything like a mother figure, right?
Sure.
So the idea of Sasha replacing Andrea, for as much as it seemed like that's where they were going, nope, not going to happen. I'm really okay with this, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
And it was sweet. It was
adorable, and it was sexy too. They looked great laying together.
They
laying
did
next to each other in bed. I liked it.
Absolutely. Denai Guerrera is a beautiful woman.
I know.
I
Yes,
have always.
she is.
Oh, when she takes the dreads off, she's like this different human being, and I'm just like, oh my god, you are so amazing. Michonne as a character is awesome as well, but Denai Guerrera as a human being is wow. Amazing in so many ways. So I don't know. I'm pretty happy about this. It was a tweak, a twist. It seemed like it's been 2 months since Rick's chopped off the hand of his former lover, and this is happening. But more power to you guys. I think they just, I don't know. They look cute together. It works for me, and it was hot as hell to see them both stand up in the completely naked with weapons drawn, with Jesus standing in the room. So let's go ahead and talk about Jesus. Jamie, you brought that up as well. So we finally got our introduction to Jesus. Grace, what'd you think of that?
Finally. I thought it was great. It was like a little bit of humor there. I liked everything about it. I thought they did a wonderful, wonderful job of his introduction.
Hold on.
You didn't like it?
No. This is fun because I have a quibble.
What's that?
Now, for the most part, I enjoyed his kung fu moves. I enjoyed everything they did with his ability to get out of the ropes that quickly. I enjoyed the fact that, like the comic, there was that bit of conflict right there at the beginning with him, that it was appeared to be potentially antagonistic until you realize he's a really great guy. My one quibble, the Paul Monroe, of course they changed his name as well. It is Paul Rovia now. Paul Monroe, our Jesus, would never, ever steal somebody's truck full of food. I have a major issue with that. That is out of his character. He wouldn't do that.
Sure.
That's it. Other than that,
yeah.
I thought the actor
I'm okay with the change up. Yeah, the actor looked great.
Actor looked great. The outfit looked, everything. It was one of these, like the moment we saw Eugene, Rosita, and Abraham for the first time, it was like, boom, right out of the pages of the comic. He looked exactly like the Jesus when we first met him.
I think my only issue with it, and I forgive it just because it was such a kind of a fun scene, is that you really pretty much, he's likable, even though he's stealing the truck and all that. He seems charming and likable. And in the comic, when he's introduced, you really don't know whether to trust him or not for a little bit.
No. Well, you don't.
You don't get that.
Interesting. I always kind of trusted the guy in the comic. I really did.
You were with Carl.
I was with Carl on this one. It was I liked him right off the bat. He seemed to be very earnest. And for the same reasons that even Rick is pointing out in this episode, as far as, he protected Daryl. He never pulled his weapon on him. He did that with, who was it? It was Michonne and
Abraham.
Abraham, thank you. So so even the introduction there with, they in the comic they pit Jesus against the two badasses, right? Mm-hmm. Abraham and Michonne. In this one, I guess you could maybe say Rick and Daryl are the badasses. Yeah,
maybe.
I think you can safely say that. So it got a little Keystone copy for a little bit, when he and Daryl were like chasing each other in the field. I'm like, this is exactly what it's like chasing my little dog on my neighbor's lawn when he won't come back inside. Back and forth and back and forth. It was just kind of ridiculous. Again, I did love Jesus's kung fu action. And, they had him tied up. I love that he just gets out of it. And then eventually standing there in front of a naked Michonne and Rick. I mean, I imagine if he was standing there going, excuse me, could you both put down your swords? I don't know. Pretty good. Pretty good.
Yep.
Another letter that we got came from Candace, and she is asking, the earlier part of the episode shows Maggie's attempt to bond with Enid. Since we don't have a Sophia, and I think a teenage daughter is key to move the Maggie-Glenn storyline forward, I think they're going to jump in as her adopted parents moving forward. Plus, comic book Sophia is a teen badass, and I think Enid has the potential to grow into that. Well, thank you, Candace. Appreciate that. And yeah, we were we're completely on board with you. I mean, we've talked about this in the past that we did think Enid would eventually step up to become that replacement. I mean, that kind of popped up in the last half season, I think, when Glenn was chatting with her and saying, hey, where do you live? Oh, you can't do, it really seemed like they were maybe setting that up. So I'm glad they really followed through with it in the show and is now having Maggie reaching out and kind of bridging that as well. And I thought that played out really well. And I would love to have Enid, on as the new Sophia. How about you?
Oh, I agree. I would love to see her. The actress, what's her? You know her name, don't you?
Caitlin Nakin.
Yeah, I mean, I think
I love her. She's
a
amazing.
strong actress, and I would love to see her stay around and fill those shoes, Sophia's shoes.
And as the fact that she's in Too Many Cooks, I can never stop talking about that. One of the greatest, weirdest YouTube things, really.
Oh my God, so weird.
Any of you listeners have not seen Too Many Cooks, look that up on YouTube, and it's about 11 or 13 minutes. Just stay with it. It's weird. It's bizarre. Just stay with it.
And then it gets more weird and more bizarre.
Then it does. This is very true. Caitlin Nakin is in it, so Enid is in that one. She is a remarkable singer and ukulele player. Totally dig that girl. Very cool. So, anything else in this episode that compares or contrasts with the comic book that you can think of?
I think those are the main things.
I think so. So, what do you say we go ahead and wrap this up and give the show back to Jason? Or actually, wait a minute. Jason's not in this episode. Karen and David. Go ahead, guys.
Let's do it.
Take it away. See you guys next week.
Thanks, Mr. Blog and Gracie Lou. All right, next week on The Walking Dead, Season 6, Episode 11, Knots Untie. Here's the very bland description. After Rick comes to the realization that Alexandria might not be as safe as he thought, decisions must be made about where to go from here. Wow, that little description probably could have gone in any particular episode from the last season and a half.
Yeah, or at least 150 of the 208.
They've stopped writing.
When exactly did he think it was really safe? I missed that.
When was that point?
Yeah.
Right. They just keep recycling the same description week after week and see if anybody notices. It's written by Matt Negrete, who's written lots of episodes, and Channing Powell, and it's directed by Michael Stratzamus. Sorry if I'm getting Michael's name wrong. And we will be back next week, and we will be podcasting about it as usual. Jason will be at the helm.
Ooh, thank God.
Didn't you have a good time?
Always.
All right, that's our show, episode 208. Thanks for listening, everyone. And thank you so much for joining me, David. If you'd like to contact us, you can call us at 650-485-DEAD. That's 650-485-3323.
You can email us at brains@podcastica.com.
You can also find us on the web at podcastica.com or facebook.com/deadcast.
Click, 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 click.
It says here, cluck like a chicken. And Jason, don't think that we're above clucking like a chicken, because we are so not above clucking like a chicken.
Sorry, I just blindly redirected.
All right, that's our show.